Hello everybody, it's DuckFaden07 and welcome to the new video. This time we are playing a deck I played like 3 months ago, made a video about it, and but now we are playing the upgraded version. Before it was bunt with just one land splash because of the Bring to Light. Now it's basically 5 color. We got Renan 6 splash and of course Valky splash similar as last time. Also, because of that, we got some changes in the land base, more triumphs to be able to play the Leyline Binding. Also, Leyline Binding is the new inclusion compared to uh, the list I made before Leyland Binding was popular. Okay, so in the sideboard also some changes. We got more Dovin Vito's, Chalice of the Void, the Third Step Fairy, Disputes, Dress Down, Hallowed Moonlight. Uh, it works against the Living End and it works against the creativity, so it's a good card. A temporary lockdown, very good hate against the Hammer Time matchup scales, so whatever. Uh, Rest in peace. Very important hate piece. Okay, so in this deck we are playing three. It's not. This is not usual control with splashing Renan 6 because we got Terminus in the main. We got one verdict, tutorable with Bring to Light. Also, we got some other Bring to Light targets. Of course, there is Walkie. Um, but also there is one of Omnat Locus of Creation, and this Omnat is just really important for the deck and can just snowball a lot of games, a lot of the matchups. I think it's very important to have access to this one-off Omnat. Um, Also, there is Brainstorm. We are playing two Brainstones because of Terminus and also two Jace Mind Sculptors. Uh, so basically, we use Jace and Brainstone to put Terminus back on the top of our deck if needed. And so next time we draw it, we can play Terminus for 1 mana. Also, we are playing some other card draw, not just Brainstorm. We have Archmage Charm and we have Icefang Kotal. So in that way, we can often play Icefang or draw Archmage Charm or trigger Brainstorm in opponent's turn and try to trigger the Terminus blindly. It happens from time to time. Of course, there is 3 Terminus in the deck and 60 card decks. It's bound to happen at some time. Um, Also, when we don't need it in control matchups, we can just shuffle it with Brainstorm back into our deck. Or Jay's ability, whatever comes first. So that's it. It's very. I think control, in my experience, is just very well positioned at the moment, and it's doing very good job against Murktide and the Breach variants and the Prowess. I just have a lot of removal here. There are Prismatic Endings, Solitudes, Leyland Bindings, Terminus, Arachne Charm to steal equipped creature with a hammer or one drop from Prowess or Murktide. Icefang Kotal just blocks the Murktide. Renan 6 kills Ragavan's counterspell. So every spell in this deck, also Supreme Verdict, every spell in this deck is good in those matchups. But we also have Rest in Pieces on the sideboard, Temporary Lockdowns, Shells of the Void to play on one in those matchups, Third the Fairy. So just a lot of cards that are good in the current metagame. Okay, so we are just going to go through the last league. I finished the league. I played just one league with this deck. Finished 4-1 with it. 4-1 with it. Lost to the uh, classic blue-white control splashing Leyland binding. Unfortunately, I just didn't have lands in the last game. No lands in the last game, so I wasn't able. Okay, so I keep the counter spell here, but also with the ability to play Ice Fang end of turn. And they just shock the land. They don't plan on playing anything this turn. So I have Solitude here in case they do something, but I also have a counter spell uh, to uh, to block any threatening place. I have Solitude if needed, and but my plan is to go Supreme Verdict next turn in this situation, and Ice Fang just was very cool in this situation to let me block these 13-13 constructs. Of course, I go for the verdict, but I still have Solitude in hand if they try to go for Blacksmith Skill or something like that, or Dash Equip Hammer or something like that. So I'm still safe. There was no need to Solitude this Ragavan, so I just let it happen. When I untap, I have I have counterspell and still keeping solitude. So I just plus my Vran so I can play my Omnat next turn to get more fetches. I decide to. There's nothing else threatening this turn, so I just decide to counter that Ragavan. So I just go for Omnat in this situation. Play my fetch. Get the mana, play Bring to Light. I decide to go for Valky here. Still holding the Solitude, of course. So I'm safe, and my opponent concedes on the broadcast. So that was it. Game one against Hammer Time opponent. It was basically classic Hammer Time, but just playing Ragavan and Manamorphose instead of the usual stuff they play. Okay, so my opponent started with a Sentinel, which wasn't very good for my starting hand. They were stuck on one land, but had Ragavan. I still didn't have any removal for them, and unfortunately they exiled the Solitude from top of my deck, so still nothing. So I just play my third land to be safe in case they do something. Unfortunately, my opponent went for Colossus Hammer in combat here, and I was able to steal the Ragavan, which obviously very good for me. I did have to let my opponent draw two cards, but it was good having 12 Ragavan. They had the Pet to Exile to deal with this immediately. And these two Esper Sentinels were really tricky, so I didn't have much options. I had to let them two more cards and just cast the verdict to get rid of the Sentinels. Okay, so my hand wasn't nothing special in this situation. Just a dress down to Fairy, Cycle Land. Okay, so I draw the Ice Fang, and I decide to go for the Ice Fang. In case they play Shadow Spear, I can always go dress down, and then they lose the trample, so I'm still good. So my opponent goes for Saga and passes the turn. I just play my Teferi, and my opponent goes for Citizen Crowbar. In the meantime, in response, so after that, I decide to immediately play the temporary lockdown because I have Dress Down in my hand to deal with Urza Saga tokens. So I don't care about that too much. Okay, so just my opponent goes for Paladin and preparing probably to make Urza Saga tokens, which was pretty good for me because I had Dress Down. So just to bounce a Solitude back in my hand and wait to see what the opponent is going to do. Okay, so they just had another Paladin. I could play Dress Down here, but they probably had Hammer in hand, as you see. So this way they can't equip this turn. I kill the tokens, they play the hammer but don't draw the card, and my opponent of course concedes on this play. So that was game one against a hammer time opponent. Okay, so match two, I keep mediocre hand, just a nice fang. Unfortunately, I drew into Valky. That's not the greatest thing to do to draw here. I go for Valky, and my opponent was on the deck that's one of the most popular decks right now. So I stole one Shredder, they played another one and played the Bubble and discarded the Spire Bluffs. Only knew for the Spell Pierce at this moment. I had the Prismatic Ending to deal with this Shredder immediately. Okay, so they just bolted my Valky to get back their Shredder, and I played around Spell Pierce to resolve my Renin 6 and get my land to hand. Of course, they went for Shredder in this situation. Again, holding the Spell Pierce, but I was planning to go Solitude this turn anyway, and plus Ren, of course. So pretty good situation for me. I think is pretty good in this matchup. Bring to light, have option to go bring to light for Valky. Also, I can bring to light for another Solitude. I attack first to see if they'll use mana before playing bring anything. So I just pass a turn. I go for Ice Fang and decide to play my Ice Fang when I tap out. Draw the second one too. Pretty good. They didn't have much solutions for this too, so they just I just decide to steal the charm. They use their Pierce, so I pay the 2 mana. Get back my land. Again, attack for 3 and stay with 2 Ice Fangs in the block. Each have dead touch now, so pretty good blockers. My opponent finds the breach to get a huge value from it. 4 mana here, so there a lot of cards in graveyard, so they're able to do a lot of stuff. Okay, they bolt my Ice Fangs because they can't attack through them. They play Mish's Bubble a few times and attack my Renin 6 while dealing with my entire board. But in this situation, my opponent stepped out. I didn't really care much about this. I could, of course, uh, play Bring to Light to get the Omnats, but I draw it from turn. And I also had the Solitude to deal with their Ledger Shredder, so this game was pretty much over. I also had a Tavara in hand um, to protect my Omnat and or Solitude. So when they go for it, I try to save my Solitude, but they had another hit, which is fine. They just played their Shredder, and now I'm able to play Bring to Light, say a counterspell also. So game over. Okay, this is okay. I cast a Bring to Light, and my opponent concedes the match. That was game one. They succeeded to win in the game two. We will now see that. Um, it was an awkward hand. I had to mulligan the first hand, and unfortunately, I did a small mistake. A great. It's not. Um it's not huge, but I forgot to board out my Brennan 6 while when boarding in Rest in Peace. That's okay though. I drew a Terminus from turn, so I tried to play it, but they had Flusterstorm. So in this situation, when they put top land in, they don't. I think they don't play Counterspell, but you don't know what people are trying at this moment. So when they tapped the land, I decided to I want to keep my Wren, start using my Wren more than I want to cast the Rest in Peace at the moment. So I just ditched the Rest in Peace to Solitude to deal with the to deal with Ragavan and play my Wren. They had solution for both Wren and also play their Teferi. Um, I also had Teferi, but their Teferi is definitely better than mine. Of course, Ledger Shredder did a great job for them. Unfortunately, they were able to deal with my Teferi just by attacking with the Shredder this turn. And they also had a pretty good draws, pretty good hand, also Teferi on the field. Very hard situation for me. I also drew into billion lands. That didn't help. Okay, so basically this was it. My opponent also had solution for my Vran. I found the Leyline binding to deal with the fairy, but it wasn't important. I still wasn't able to deal with Shredder and Ragavan and all other stuff from their hands. So this was just not a good game for me. They attacked for two more turns, and that was it basically. So I can skip to the game three. Okay, in game three, I had to mulligan. I kept five cards. Not the greatest keep, but it's okay. Prismatic Ending plus Rest in Peace is pretty good. So my opponent goes for the Channeler, so I decide to resolve Rest in peace as soon as possible. I find the Leyline binding, so I use that first to deal with Ragavan. Ragavan was a better threat at this point because of the rest in peace, of course. So I just drew Valky is not a good draw, but you can always play it as a 2-1 creature, blocker, jumper, whatever. Okay, so I get the land in this situation, so I decide to play Jace immediately. Uh, they're low on cards, so it's better to play Bolt in Jace than to my face. Uh, I decide to remove the channeler and keep the Archmage Sharp, so in this situation I'm in the top deck mode. But with the rest in peace, I'm in a pretty good situation. A lot of dead cards in my opponent's deck, like Underwood Breach, Channeler doing just 1 damage, so not a large threat, and I'm still on a lot of life. So I draw into Valky again, but to keep it, I just need black source, and I can play it very soon. Have 6 mana at the moment. I have 7 mana now, but still not no black source, unfortunately for me. Okay, so okay, they go for they go killed the with Werther, get their Ragavan back, but I think a very good draw in this situation, getting me the land on the same turn. So I get my black mana, and I decide to go for the Tybalt immediately. Unfortunately, they had the Spell Pierce. I should have played the Jace this turn. It was a mistake, but it just didn't matter that much. Resolving Jace in this situation, doing the ability has a very large chance of winning this match immediately. So I just brainstorm, I put a counter spell in my hand, a Solitude on top. And they can kill it with the Ledger Shredder this turn, so I'm able to save it if they bolt. I just play my Solitude and save a counterspell in hand and just use my Jace again. In this situation, it's very hard for them to get back into the game. They're also very low on clock, so okay, I just decide to play one of my Bring to Lights at this moment, covered by uh, Counterspell. So I just go for Omnat, of course, to try to gain some life. I get to Tavara in hand. To Tavara for 3 mana here is able to save my Solitude or Omnat if needed. They go for iteration, but they decide it's enough for them after the counterspell. So that was it. That was the game 2, match 2, sorry. So against one of the most popular decks right now on the MTGO, the Yeskai Breach, no Saga, of course. Okay, so match 3, it's a prowess. So there is really a huge amount of very similar decks right now, trying to do the same thing. There's Murktide, there's Breach, there's Prowess, which is also playing Breach. So it's basically all Breach, and my opponent, I just got rid of their Soulscar Mage. My opponent didn't have a second threat. So these pro decks really play a low amount of the threats, and they have a huge amount of card draw, but they often struggle to find it. Like my opponent in this game. Of course, I will counter the iteration. Iteration is their best card draw spell, so a lot of counter spells in my hand. Supreme Verdict, Bring to Light, all very good in this situation. My opponent still doesn't have threat. I decide to test them with Archmage Charm to see if they have Spell Pierce. They don't Spell Pierce this, so I think pretty safe for me to try to play the Bring to Light. And I decide to do exactly that. If they play, I don't think they can kill me on this turn because of I'm on 16. But if they play some creatures, I have a verdict for next turn. So my Tybalt got me two lands off the top, and they had to use two cards to get rid of it. So it's really large advantage, and I'm able to go for the Jace in this situation. Just put cards on top I don't like, then shuffle them and hold counterspell for next turn. Also Leyland Binding if necessary. So of course, they showed that they are missing threats, so I definitely wanted to counter that creature. They uh, they kill my Jays with bolt, but I just don't care that much about this. I played a second land, uh, then played uh, then played the fairy, drew into Brainstone, and still holding the counterspell on their turn. And they can even use the spell pierce in this situation. They go Ragavan, probably trying to find the breach, hoping to find the breach and play a lot of spells, try to get out of this situation. So they do play the channeler here, a lot of creatures, Giganta, and I just use my brainstorm, I put Terminus on top. Again, I use I use J's, put the terminus on top, brainstorm into place so I can trigger the draw in their turn. Okay, so I'm playing Bring to Light in a deck, so I'm comfortable. They try to kill my Omnat, but I trigger my brainstorm in this situation. I was expecting them to try to kill the Omnat. So I trigger the Terminus with Brainstone and Fetch. I don't know why I didn't have Forest or Island, it seems, in this situation, but I was able to save my Omnat from heat, put it back into my deck. My opponent, I have Solitude here, but it doesn't matter. They can do much with Ragavan at this point against Teferi, Jace, and 5 cards in hand, so pretty much game over. I do the abilities, of course. Um, I just have to find a way to finish this game as quick as possible, so probably best to just go for the solitude. They just, as I said, I just don't even care about them killing my Jays, the second one, so I didn't even counter that. Just this game is over. They can't do anything, so I just play my creatures, attack them. I save my solitude because I really need solitude to finish this match as soon as possible. So I just replay the Ice Fang. I find the third Bring to Light, so I find my Omnat again. the one of Omnet which I saved with Terminus. Okay, so I get their Ragavan with Ahmed Charm, attack with everything, and that's it. Unable, of course, to finish the game this turn, but there's nothing they can do, so they're just wasting, holding back my time. Okay, so game one, pretty easy against Easy Progress opponent who wasn't able to find their threat on time. I had to mulligan this, of course, kept a mediocre hand. Had to put the Jace back on down. And they again go for the Soul Scar on turn one. A good start for them. Spear with Bubble. I definitely wanted to Solitude the Spear immediately. And still had the Binding in hand and some basics. So I'm pretty safe from the Blood Moon. And of course, I can use Binding on their creature if necessary. But they were really struggling. I don't know which exact version is this, but they're really struggling with finding enough threats in both of these games. So they had threat turn one in both games. I got rid of that threat, and then after that, they were really struggling with finding another one. So my opponent also forgot here that they have Giganta. Maybe they're holding Pierce or something. Yeah, they go Giganta. In this moment, I just cycle my trial. Play the land, hold the counter spell, hold the binding, of course, if needed. I was still in a good situation. My opponent didn't even play Giganta in this situation. I don't know, maybe they were waiting to so they can protect it with the spell pierce or something. They played Spear, but I definitely just wanted to get rid of him too. Got Terminus from top, but nothing to remove. Okay, my opponent 6 cards in hand, but no threats, so just interaction it seems. And this, okay, so in this situation, I was able to start scrying with Castle Vantress, which is really helpful. I had Bring to Light for Valky, but uh, it wasn't necessary. I just wanted to hold the counter spell at this point and Leyline Binding. I decided to go for Leyline Binding in this situation. They had Werther, but I countered this, so kind of awkward hand. Everything costs 2 white mana, didn't have it at this point. So I took out Valky and got another 2 white mana spell and with no second white. Okay, so I got Chalice here on one and I decided to immediately ditch Solitude to get rid of this Giganta. I had Castle Vantress on the field, so I was able to start scrying, which is really helpful in this kind of situation. So just kept the counter spell at top, really comfortable with counter spell in this situation, of course. I'm able to scry and get put both on the bottom. And then in upkeep scry again, hold the counter spell still, but find the two good cards on the top of my library. Uh, I go counterspell on Werther. Luckily, they don't have the spell pierce in this situation, so sorry, if they have it, it would be useless because of the chalice. Sorry, I forgot. I played chalice before. Uh, but in a really good situation here, Archmage Charm to protect my Teferi here. Teferi draws me card, but they still have to get rid of him. So he's really good. Finally, I get the second white land I need with all white cards in my hand. Then I scry into the Ice Fang. Of course, in no hurry to play anything. I just decide to put Solitude in field to start attacking my opponent. With the Chalice on one, I just in need now to find one counter spell to protect the Chalice, and that's it. I play Jace, and my opponent concedes on Jace. So that's it. That was third game from my opponent against a Prowess opponent. So last game I played against Burn. Okay, so I'm playing one of Omnat in this list, which is very important uh, for the burn matchup. So basically, I just have to live until I'm able to cast the Bring to Light and the Fetch. I played 3 Bring to Lights, so it's similar to playing 4 Omnats. I have to play it a turn later though. So, two counter spells, Archmage Charm in hand. I decide to immediately counter all burn spells my opponent is playing. I just played Hollow Fountain, waiting to draw into Omnat or Bring to Light or Solitude, whatever. I could have gone for Solitude here, forcing them to forcing them to kill it, and or I'll be able to protect it with two counter spells. So in this situation, they go all possible burn they have to face, and now when I use my counter spells, I hope that they'll play some creatures so I can solitude it, and that happened. So I was able to solitude the Sea Spear and then threaten to start gaining life with Solitude. Just one card in my opponent's hand. Luckily, it's a Searing Blaze, but they didn't have a land this turn, so it does nothing. Just one damage, and now I'm able to. I didn't have any counter spells left, so if they've got the charm, the game would be over. But they didn't, and I was able to start attacking with Solitude. I didn't care much about Eidolon. It was ideal for me because I was able to kill it with Prismatic Ending for 4 mana, not even lose the 2 life, and uh, then attack with Solitude again. So I just bounced the guide so it can block the Solitude, and I just wanted to continue attacking. And my opponent concedes in this situation. That's it. Okay. Okay, so game one. That was game one against the Burn opponent. Okay, playing on the draw definitely trickier, but doable with a decent hand. Unfortunately, my hand wasn't very good. I was stuck on lands and didn't have a solitude or prismatic ending or any removal really, so not good against this monastery Spirit, just making it really hard for me, doing a lot of damage by staying on the field. So they just two cards in this situation, but I'm not able to play without lands, so I'm forced to concede very early on turn 3. But on the play, pretty comfortable of being able to control this matchup and win in the end. I have Omnat in hand, so if I can control my opponent by turn 5, I'll probably be able to win this game. They start off with a Rift Bolt and another burn spell to face with a tap land. Okay, so I drew into the fairy, but I didn't want to shock in this turn. I definitely wanted to have the fairy in the game before playing my Omnat. So I just went for the fairy in this situation, so preparing the field for Omnat next turn, trying to find a land. No land, unfortunately, for now. My opponent definitely won't use removal on the fairy here. So I just patiently wait for land and get it this turn, so I can safely just go for Omnat. Play the fetch, gain life, then gain life again in their upkeep, and that's it. So very easy Omnat win. Okay, that was it. Okay, so the only loss in the league was against classic blue-white control, splashing for Leyland Binding. So it was a really long game, kind of boring. Just I won't go through it because it was just frustrating. Two frustrating games where I was stuck on lands early. I had four lands into play while my opponent had 6, 7, and they were able to double spell and resolve the fairy first, and then I was stuck in wasn't able to get to solve the fairy, and had multiple counter spells in hand. So that's it. My opponent was really low on time, so if I succeeded to win one of those games, I would win on time. Uh, but this is it. Deck feels pretty playable, very strong against that Izet decks like Prowess, like Breach, like Murktide, whatever. But it also very good against Hammer Time and all other aggro matchups because we're playing having access to all the premium removal, Solitudes, Leyland Bindings, Prismatic Endings, Archmage Charms, Teferis, Ran, Icefang Kotal. It's just, it is similar to the classic playing all the cards that Blue White Control is playing, but having access to this Bring to Light with Valky and one of Omnat just means so much. And the Terminus Brainstorm is a pretty good card to play in this kind of deck. I'm always very glad to see it. Jace also. So I opted for Terminus here as it can be just so good in this aggro meta, tempo meta filled with a lot of creatures. And that's it. Okay, so hope you liked the deck. If you want to help the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and that's it for this time. See you in the next video. Okay, bye.